Kuse, do you want to come now or later?
No, I'm deploying the Secretary General of Umkhondo Sizwe Party.
Honorable Nomvalo.
Yeah, no, I accept the deployment. I'm accepting.
The new Secretary General from the box.
Yes, Chair.
Remember, now when you speak, you no longer speak as an ordinary honorable member.
Chair, no.
You speak as you speak as leadership. And what we want to see from you is the leadership argument.
Don't patronize me, Chair. Good afternoon, General. Maybe let me, before I go further with my questions, do what my colleague here has been doing since we started, Honorable Sols. When we had an altercation with him, I accused him of doing motivations and reading scriptures for witnesses instead of asking them questions. But today, I think I must do what he did or what he has been doing. I think, General, for the bravery that you displayed on the 6th of July last year, you deserve to be commended. I know many people want to accuse us of favoritism. You are a police officer. You are not a prosecutor. You are not a lawyer. I mean, you are not a lawyer. You are not a magistrate. You are not a judge. A constitutional and a statutory obligation of a police officer is to investigate and arrest based on prima facie evidence. In this country, we have prosecutors who have taken dockets on the basis that they have prospects of success. And when those dockets go to court and get withdrawn, and some don't make it in court because some cases get dismissed and so on, that does not mean that they do not know their job. So your job as compared to a job of a prosecutor and a judge is very minimal. So you must never be demoralized when people accuse you for what you did on the basis that we have not been able, as this committee, to prove some of the things further. You did what you were supposed to do as a police officer, and subsequently, because of what you did, some explosive revelations have been made here before this committee. If it was not for what you did, the country would have not known the deep-seated rot in our justice cluster. Our country would have not known that because it's an allegation that has not been challenged, received an amount of 500,000 from Matlala. Since that allegation was made, Begitele has never contested it. So it remains the only version that is at our disposal. If it was not for the bravery that you expressed, we would have not known the deep-seated rot and the shenanigans that are finding expression in IPIT, because the overwhelming evidence presented here shows that IPIT, to a greater extent, has been captured and has been criminalized. We would have not known the shenanigans that are happening at IDEC. We would have not known the extent at which the relationship between Mkhwanazi and the Matlala, the extent at which their relationship impacted with the running of SAPS. So I'm saying for all those things, because we shouldn't behave like here you have a responsibility of being a police, a prosecutor, and a judge at the same time. You are a police officer. And on top of that, you are a human being. So if there are mistakes that you made during your press briefing, that cannot be used to characterize you as a dishonest person. That cannot be used to characterize you as a person who lacks credibility. You did what many people have been wanting to do, but because of fear for their jobs and for their lives, have not done. So this country must commend you for that. Because this country, or the justice cluster and the security cluster in particular, is highly compromised. And that has been expressed as evidence before this committee. So you must go to your home from this parliament. You must go to your family, knowing that you did the best for this country by what you did on the 6th of July. Thank you, sir. So I thought it's important, General, and I'm saying this without any fear of contradiction. Many things have been exposed here. All those things were not going to be exposed had you not taken upon your shoulders to go to the media briefing on the 6th of July, 2025. But I think when I ask you questions, I must start here, General. I know some people might think that by asking this question, I'm going beyond the confines of the terms of reference. I'm not, because within the terms of reference, there is a term of reference which says we must investigate the alleged infiltration and abuse of SAPS. I'm not quoting it verbatim, but it is within that context. Now, the question I want to ask you about is a question about a man, a businessman in KZN, a man called Kelvin Matibeli, who made serious allegations about you. I know that you took the matter to court, but I think the matter did not deal, the court did not deal with the merits. It only dealt with your application to interdict. So all the merits that and the allegations that he raised when he spoke about you were not dealt with. And therefore, they have not been tested by any court of law, and they are not under any judicial scrutiny. So the allegations that he made, I think you know all of them, General, but I will summarize them. He says, you are working for business bosses. He further says, you are using the police to settle scores, and the police are doing dirty work. They target KZN police. They target certain individuals, and they pretend to be conducting investigations with an intention of killing those individuals. What is your reaction to that? How is your reaction? How do you react to that?
Honorable Member, Mr. Matibedi, I did not know him. He believed one of the business people in KZN like many others. But what I become aware is when I'm told about the things that the man is writing on Facebook, comments he makes about me as a person. But what is interesting on that is that he even includes the issues of Minister Mkhwanazi and what we are discussing here. And when I inquired more, then I established that he's a person who's very close to the minister. So he made a lot of false allegations, and allegations of things that are coming from the media, amongst others. It's a given. There are people that are loyal to Mr. Mkhwanazi. The press briefing was in no way to make Minister Mkhwanazi as an evil, but it was a person that was an obstacle for the administration of justice, and we had to come out with that and make it clear. But the people that support him, like Motivedi, came out strongly and started throwing accusation around. So it's for that reason that I took it out of my own to challenge him. And he made use of the media, amongst others, to make those stories. Again, as I said about Minister Mkhwanazi, he's a person that's been fed the wrong information. The least the man can do is to stand up and say, I was told by so-and-so this information about you. Because me and him never met, but now I know his face, and I hope we'll meet very soon. We're in court now. And that was the first matter in court. We are following on that because they've not honored that court order. So we are continuing with the court process on it. Obviously, there are many other actions that are going to follow thereafter. Thanks to him for having come up and start making that noise, that we started getting to know a lot of things about him from his staff that have brought to attention. That's why there was a search in his properties in different provinces, because his staff are starting to share some irregularities that are happening in his space. Not because we wanted to do that. It is because of what he exposed himself, being influenced by the people that influenced him. The allegations that he made that involved taxi people, I would be happy if you were to mention which taxi person or company or family is talking about. But to my conclusion from after investigated about who is he associated to, because I did not know he's in a tax as well. I thought he's just a businessman that run tenders. Later I learned the dog is in the tax environment. In actual fact, the police arrested some of his security guards. I think about 2 of them, if I'm mistaken. But when they were arrested, those security guards were protecting one taxi boss in KZN from Inanda Taxi Association, who is the chairperson there. His surname is Getsemani. When that Getsemani was arrested after invasion of a site, a mine in KZN, the police responded. They were arrested. They were detained. His guards, his Matibeti's guards, were amongst the people that were arrested. So that what triggered Getsemani to start accusing the police on a lot of things. But I learned later that Getsemani has issues with other families in the taxi business in KZN, which is historically between them that dates back to, 2013, somewhere about. So I then believe that means Motipedi being very close to Getsemani, maybe because Getsemani has issues with another family. It perhaps Motipedi assume that I'm associated with the enemies of Getsemani. So that's my conclusion. But other than that, I have no issues. All the taxi people I engage with, I was there last weekend, Saturday, with another taxi companies before coming down here. I'm not associated with any of them. So whatever he made out there is not the truth.
Yeah, maybe I should have declared that I also know Mr. Kelvin Matibele from when I was a member of the ANC. So we used to be very close when I was still in the ANC. I think it's important that I declare that, but that is not my interest. My interest here is finding the truth. And I want to establish the basis for his allegations. Because he says, General, at some point, the police, I don't know whether it was the PKTT or the NIU, raided his house. They wanted to arrest him without a warrant or with a fake warrant. And he established later that the warrant was fake, was not authentic. Do you know that story?
Yeah, no, I do. Perhaps let me, honorable member, from my assessment of Mr. Matibedi, And I believe that that's what I'm saying. If we're to sit with me here and he be honest, that he comes and blames me about things without even having engaged me in the past. Someone fed him that information. That's why he went out public to do that. Mr. Matibedi, when his 2 guards are arrested, it is because Mr. Getsemane had engaged with the chief in KZN. That's why the chiefs sometimes get killed themselves, because they become part of these tenders and conflict within the business people. The chief has shares in a mine, but the chief authorizes Mr. Getsemane in exchange of a Toyota Fortuner car that is given to the chief. The chief gives Getsemane the right to take over the mine. He's a shareholder. He's not owning the mine. 10%, I'm told, that is controlling in that mine. But this Getsemane goes to the mine, accompanied by guards. In this mine, he's not a wanted, he's trespassing. So he enters the mine and he says to them, I'm here to take over, I'm in charge of the mine. It's a quarry. Now, the people that are managing, one of the directors managing this mine, is contacted by the officials. And these officials contact him and say, hey, these people are coming here, they are carrying guns, and they are coming to take over the mine. This person then mobilizes the police. Not Mkhwanazi, he phones the police. Police arrives, they arrest these people for trespassing. Matibedi's guards are there. That's where the first grudge with the police comes from. Fast forward, an incident happened in December last year, allegedly, I'm told. An individual made contact with a senior police officer, a detective in KZN, and says, I am Colonel so-and-so from the Hawks in Gauteng. I'm investigating a case against Matibedi and I've got a warrant of arrest on Matibedi. Can you please help me secure this man while we are traveling down to Durban to come and take him? The police officer says, send me that warrant. And the warrant is emailed to a police officer. The police officer takes this warrant and give it to a captain to take the team and go to Matibedi's house. Remember, they're waiting for this detective to come down. And the verification of the legitimacy of the warrant is done separately. So the team arrives at the house of Matibedi. And when they get there, then they ask, where is Matibedi? The wife says he's not here. They say, no, we've got this warrant of arrest to come and arrest him. That's how he gets to know. They give the copy to the wife. That's how he gets to know the police are looking for him. And then the police communicate back, no, we don't find this person. And the police officer that sent them contacts the Hawks member, but he doesn't get the Hawks member. They may contact again, he doesn't get the Hawks member. So they continue verifying this warrant, they discover that this Hawks member doesn't exist. And the police have returned. They didn't do anything in the house, but they delivered this to the family. So the police were acting, thinking that they are assisting their fellow colleagues from the Hawks. It later, fast forward, I don't remember, discovered that that person who pretended to be the Hawks had used an email of the police in Eastern Cape to send that fake warrant. Date, stamp of the court and everything in it. And that person have defrauded many people, apparently sitting in prison himself in Pretoria.
So when you say the police general, are you referring to the PKTT?
No. The honorable chair members, maybe let me repeat again. And I want you to always maybe help South Africans. A PKTT has always been made out of less than 200 members in KZN. 200. Their sole mandate is in black and white about cases of political killings and later traditional leadership. Anything outside that does not involve them. There is 19,000 police officers in KZN. 19,000. So it is the rest of the police that are doing the work in KZN and not PKTT.
So was it a specific unit or
the person who's contacted is a provincial head of one of the detective teams in KZN, in my office. He's the one who's contacted. Actually, the head of organized crime was contacted first, but he said, no, he doesn't have teams to go and assist. He referred it to his brigadier next door, and his brigadier then dispatched his team to go and help. These are brigadiers sitting at the provincial office. They are provincial heads of different units in the province. The PKTT is a team that sits somewhere else. They're not part of the management structure of KZN. They are just there as an intervention for this.
Yeah, no, because the reason why I'm asking you further is because the impression that the allegations are giving is that there is a coordinated, concerted effort to deal with Mr. Matibeli as your project. So it's like he is your project. You are dealing with him in pursuit of interest of certain individuals from whom you are taking orders from a taxi industry. That is the allegation that is being made against you. So have you ever ordered the police now within your official responsibility to go and raid Matibeli's residence?
No.
Within your official responsibility?
Well, up until the most recent one, where there were search warrants on his property, that's when I was involved. Prior to that, no.
So what triggered the last one?
I've got thousands and thousands of complaints that came from the Matibeli staff that were sent to me. So I had to act on it. But it comes from different people who are, some of them in Durban, some of them in Gauteng, some of them in Limpopo. I did not know that Matibeli has got offices in all these places. This is the staff that used to work, and some of them are still working for Matibeli. So they are talking about fraudulent contracts. They are talking about murder cases. They are talking about all sorts of things. So it's many of them. As a result of that, I then had to engage with my colleagues on the other side. They said, I've got this in front of me. We have to investigate. Of course, we had to then make an application to the court to get an authority to search. Authority is granted. Another application to another court to search the premises. Authority is granted, and so forth. So the investigation that I was involved with is the one that's happening now. But prior to that, from my understanding, there were two raids in his premise, or not two raids, but two police visits. One was in his house in December, which was as a result of the fake, I can confirm it is a fake arrest, warrant of arrest. Well, he's got the legal recourse if he so wish to engage on. I can't stop him. He's got all the rights. But they were not sent by me. It was communication between that person in prison and the police officer, and they sent a team there. That is one side. The second one is happened, I think it was the 13th of February. I'm busy with the operation in Durban on that same day. On a Monday, I'm told that on a Friday, I sent a team to his house. I had no clue. When I started establishing who was there, I discovered that the people that were there were from the head office that came to do farm inspection at his premises. I didn't know about it. But I'm the one that is blaming. So that's why mine was, well, I couldn't just phone him and say, hey, sir, you barking at the wrong tree. I had to go to court.
So please remind me, General, the last raid, did it happen after you took each other to court? After you took him to court?
Yeah, the last one happened.
The last one.
Yeah, after.
So do you confirm that it was not a reiteration?
No, it's not. That's why I can show my phone the complaints that came to me for people I didn't even know. And why I would not just sit back and not act is when I see the team is going to fight me on this one, because I'm now going to declare some of the things that are part of the complaints that are there. Is that a tender is completed. In this tender, there are certificates. And these certificates must be commissioned. Now, when the person who commissions the document is sitting in Limpopo, he commissions the document, is taught how to commission a document as if he's a police officer.
Okay.
How to write a rank, how to put a personal number. The stamp belongs to a police station that he has never seen.
Yeah.
He's done this thing in the office. That's what I'm saying.
I think, General,
It's those type of complaints.
I think it's because it's still under investigation. Yeah. I don't want to jeopardize your investigation.
All right.
I just wanted to get the gist of this altercation.
No. Yeah, well, prior to these recent searches that happened in all 4 provinces, I did not even know him.
Okay.
For that matter.
General, my observation and my conclusion about the National Commissioner, General Masemula, is that to a certain extent, he also abdicated his responsibility with regards to the disbandment of the PKTT. If I can use a silly language, I can say he also slept on duty because he was on leave. A decision is taken by the minister. When he comes back, he does not contest it. He implements the directives. He even goes to an extent of making a presentation in Parliament about and they start to implement a plan, a post-disbandment plan. So don't you feel that as a matter of principle, the National Commissioner also is to be blamed for this? Because if he knows his constitutional powers, he should have not allowed that decision. He should have contested it right on the spot. He should have said, no, Minister, you do not have powers to do this. We're not going to implement this. So don't you think this is a fair criticism? I mean, me, if I was a National Commissioner, I was not going to allow the minister to do what he did. I was going to tell him right in his face that, Minister, you don't have constitutional powers. I am the only person who is the accounting officer here with operational responsibilities. So the National Commissioner as well participated indirectly in violating the Constitution. What is your take on that?
Honorable Member, the National Commission and myself are different. His approach on things will not be the same as me, and I'm sure yourself as well. Someone will have asked me, why do you go out public and make these pronouncements that involves one of the things was spoken here, presiding officers or judiciary? Why didn't you complain through the structures that exist? And my response will be, the procedure of complaint is there, but it was going to take long, and I did not trust the process. That's why I felt it is important for me to approach it in this fashion. The National Commission might say, in my approach of things, I was going to get into the same outcome as General Mkhwanazi, but coming in a different way. Yes, I was frustrated, I must tell you that. Because for me, I needed action and action done fast. That's why I took it out of my own to phone the minister in January and to also send him a message in April. Because I felt that I need to engage him directly. But that was not successful. So I've engaged National Commission numerous times, pleading with him to engage the minister and even take it to the president. But of course, he will come back and respond. He's a person that's different than me. I'm sure you've realized that. He's a bit of a calmer guy, which is different than me. So I cannot say what he neglected his work by doing what he did. He might have not agreed with the minister, but not wanting to go directly. Perhaps that's why the reduced way of closing down the team, which is a winding down approach and so forth. And I must say, Honorable Chair members, that the likelihood is that had the minister granted me an audience in January when I asked to meet him, and perhaps the minister convinced me that although it's not immediately, but we might want to get rid of this so that we can move it like this, perhaps I would have agreed with the minister, and if he had that opportunity to sit down with me, listen to me, and we engage and we agree on how we should go about it. But that opportunity was not granted. So for the National Commission, he had an opportunity to engage with the minister, how they engage with each other, how he was able to persuade the minister to say, let's not shut it down immediately, let's have a plan of closing it. I cannot say he was sleeping on duty.
Okay. General, when you were making the explosive revelations that you made, the first thing that came into my mind is that was phaguling news. I don't know if you understand that language in Zulu. More phaguling news, ziyaphuma zonke zize kuwena. So that is why you need to hide your face. And that thought came from the prevalent fundamental decay within our institutions. Corruption is everywhere. And we've seen good men and women in this country trying to expose corruption with no success. Some have been victimized. Some have been killed. Abanye today, bane ndandane. I mean, bane ngane ezingenawo ama-breadwinners because they stood on the side of principle. So, have you not become vulnerable since the revelations? Have you not been attacked? Has your family not been affected by this whole thing? How are you surviving? Because even people who don't know you, they know you now. Some are characterizing you as a rogue individual. Some are saying you are a killer. Some are battery inkabi, we poison inkabi, and so on. And I'm sure that affects your family as well. So since the explosive revelations you made, how have you been surviving?
Yeah, well, I said before, and I will say it again, we all shall die, and nobody will live forever. It depends how you die as a person. I'm not much of a Christian. Christians tend to be afraid of dying a lot, and yet they pray. But I'm not necessarily worried about dying. If death gets me, it will get me. That's why I can still walk out here and play with explosives. That's why I can walk out here and do skydiving. That's why I can do, because anything can happen there, you can die. That's why I can still fly from one point to another, not being worried that the airplane will crash. So death will catch us all. But I must say, honorable member, that this action of the 6th, I took a conscious decision that I will stand for the truth, knowing that indeed my family is going to be affected. I can't easily walk around anymore with my children and enjoy sitting in a restaurant and having a meal because people come to you. You can't go and participate in any other place where normal human beings go to because people come to you. I'm the person that likes freedom, but I don't like to be guarded all the time. That's why I've said, and I'm saying, those who might be planning something, they must move with speed if it happens.
Some are saying, General, you did all what you did because you wanted to secure your contracts. You wanted to be reappointed. What is your take on that?
No, that is not true. It has never been. When I took the decision to go to KZN is because I thought I'll do my bit and I leave the organization. So the organization approached me in December and said, we want you to stay. And then I had my own condition. First, I had to go and discuss with the family because it was never my plan to stay longer. But understanding the situation that we were in, I had to engage with the family and say, this is the request that is offered by the police. What do we do? And we discussed, and I went back to the National Commission to engage on that one. And so I'm still waiting for the decision from the National Commission in that regard. So okay. It's not me that applies. The law doesn't apply. Once you choose to become honorable chair members, I was sitting as a Lieutenant General in the head office. And that employment was going to keep me there until I turned 60. But I voluntarily left that contract. And I took a 5-year contract with not a single cent in addition. I moved, I relocated from Gauteng to KZN because I wanted to come home so I can contribute in the safety of the family around where I live. So that after 5 years when I retire, I can live in a peaceful environment. So me going to KZN had nothing to do with the money or the contract. It was voluntarily. It's unlike a person who applies for the post of being a provincial commissioner. He goes for interviews, he gets a contract, and when a contract is coming towards an end, he wants to extend the contract. For me, it was different. I was a general already at this level in Pretoria for many years already.
Okay. You see, when I was listening you talking about General Khan, I was asking myself if this committee has done justice to comprehensively investigate at length the allegations that you made. And I was saying maybe we missed an opportunity because the manner in which we have described the role of General Khan requires that he comes before this committee as a witness, but he was not called. The unfortunate part about this committee is that it is constituted by representatives of political parties. So it is not driven by principles of objectivity and impartiality to a certain extent. Some people become overprotective of their party interests. Some become overprotective of their personal interest. As a result, or ipso facto, they compromise principally, and they do not arrive to issues that were supposed to arrive to. They just scratch the surface, and some don't want the truth to be exposed. Do you feel, General, as the main complainant, because the reason why you are the only witness who has been granted an opportunity to come back is because we regarded you as the main complainant. Do you think this committee has comprehensively ventilated and investigated these allegations, or we've just scratched the surface? I'm asking this because we have not called any. I know that you said you don't have adequate evidence in relation to the judiciary, but it's open secret that the judiciary is not a paragon of virtue. They also have their smolanyana skeletons, but none of them has been called to come here. Do you think we've done justice as this committee? Leave the Mazanga, but this committee, which is structured the way it is structured politically.
Yeah, well, in as far as the work that the committee has done, I was hoping that the reason for the minister to come up with the letter of the 31st of December was going to be investigated. Not just simple us being called here to talk about it, but I'm talking about a forensic investigation done from his gadgets, where this letter was compiled, his communications between him and his staff, Vusipikoli that he made a reference to, that he shared this thing with, and those legal structures that are established to assist the minister, like the DG at Civilian Secretariat. So those are the things that I was hoping we're going to interrogate thoroughly. And I feel they were not thoroughly interrogated. There are 3 items that the minister raised on his letter. And the majority of the time the committee spent was on the first one. The second part of it is just moving below the radar. The third part of it, which is border security, it's even more of a concern for me because that's a gateway for the bad things coming to the country. And I don't think the Ad Hoc Committee have done justice to establish exactly what's happening there. I hinted on some weaknesses in these areas, but I thought the committee was going to even do inspection in loco for that matter to test what we're saying. But really, are we that open in our borders that things can just come in willy-nilly and without being checked? So those are the type of things I would have expected the committee to do. The time you were given maybe was not sufficient. Perhaps going forward, different structures, different committees, depending on the recommendation, will dig deeper, especially the Portfolio Committee on Police, will dig deeper to find out what are the things beyond this Ad Hoc Committee.
Okay. Please bear with me when I cut you because there are questions that I would like to pose to you, and I'll be very flabbergasted if we finish without asking these questions. Evidence has been tendered here about the misuse of the so-called slush fund in the Secret Service account in crime intelligence. What is a systematic shortfall on how the slush funds are being run? Are there any gaps which are opening loopholes or which are opening a can of worms? And if there are systematic gaps which are attracting corruption to the Secret Service account, if they are, then how do we close them?
It's going to be difficult for me, or remember, to talk about Secret Service account because I'm neither a member of crime intelligence nor understand exactly the details of how they do business there. But one of the things that I picked up from the complaints I learned from the Divisional Commissioner, the General Mkhwanazi, and something I've learned when I was the Acting National Commissioner as well, was that the abuse of the resources becomes easier simply because there are these clandestine people that have been used. So a member is going to claim money on behalf of, and then that claim is paid, but that payment might not land to the person that is supposed to receive because of that system that they have within crime intelligence. Because they have to do things covertly. But also what became a weakness at the time which General Mkhwanazi was trying to close was that it is one individual trusted in decision-making to pay. So we came with control measures of putting a committee in place. It was aimed at trying to put some controls. But to go deeper to discuss issues of the crime intelligence or any intelligence community on how they operate, I'm not empowered to do that. I don't have necessary credentials to be able to discuss it.
Okay. When you were here, General, I asked you about Minister Senzo Mkhunu. I think the question that I asked is, do you have evidence proving that he is linked to criminal syndicates and drug cartels? And I think you gave a very fair response there too, because you said there are matters that you are still investigating surrounding him, and you have identified some trust account and so on and so forth. Now, General, my perspective here at this stage is that there is no adequate evidence that links him to criminal syndicates and drug cartels. Where we find him wrong is in relation to the decision that he took to disband the PKTT. It is my view. I can argue it for a couple of minutes, but because I don't have enough time, it is my view that he does not have constitutional powers, and neither does he has statutory powers to do what he did. But with regards to the other allegation, there is no adequate evidence proving it to be correct. What is your take?
I can't agree with you more, Honorable Member. I've said it before. I met the minister early in 2024, if I'm not saying just before the elections. Elections come. The minister appoints chief of staff. It's a minister that I was introduced to as being the good man. So when a letter is written on the 31st of December, I feel I must reach out to the person that I was introduced to so that I can be able to warn him about the implication of this so that he can retract it. And I'm not granted the opportunity. So the events that follows thereafter, all the way up until I send him a WhatsApp pleading with him to meet so that I can be able to discuss this role of Mkhwanazi that has come to the picture and the Khan in them. The minister acknowledges that, but he still doesn't grant me that opportunity. And then other evidences that comes out, we then realize that minister was consciously aware about the intentions of the people that are rogue within the organization to shut down this team. To what extent did he know that they were going to shut down the team? For what purpose? I'm not sure whether we have the reason for that for now. This statement of someone that comes from prison that seems to suggest certain things, and the witness E at the Matlanga Commission that recorded the minister when he was pleading with him to give a statement, and the presentation the minister made here regarding the work study investigation, amongst others, it made me conclude that the minister is protecting people. He's using justification that does not exist. CFO disputed, everyone else disputed what he presents here as the reason for the letter. So it then leaves me with one conclusion. He was assisting the CBS who in turn are assisting the cartel squad. So when you are assisting in that fashion, you might not be directly involved, but directly you are allowing the criminality to take place. So that is my conclusion. That's why I kept on saying, if he was honest, he was going to say, I was influenced by so and so and so and so and so and so. And you can easily forgive him for that. But he's not being honest about that. He says he's an author. If he's an author, then he gets into the constitutional question. What gives you the powers? That's what.
Thank you, General. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Honorable Shongwa.
Chair, can I give my chance to Boss Kosan? I really need to restructure my questions.
You have 25 minutes.
Sorry, Chair?
You have 25 minutes. The only time we have now is towards break. So we can't run for more than 25 minutes.
No, it's fine. We can continue then. Kwalikos,
Inhlonishwa.
yaphila mphathi.
Siyaphila njani manje?
Hayi asibonga. Ndaba ezithi angiqale la waqala khona nawe owakwenza. Waya ebantwini emva kokuthi ubone ukuthi ikomiti lamaphoyisa lenza ngendlela efanele. Angiqale ngokuthi ngicele ebantwini base South Africa ndaba ezinto futhi thatha ithuba lokuthi ngibabongele ekubeni nesibindi esingaka. Thatha umndeni wakho, thatha ifreedom yakho uyifake kule nkinga engaka. Cabanga ukuthi nathi sibasha la eParliament sithole sikuleso simo leso sokuthi uma sidibana nezinto siyibuze ukuthi ngabe sizela isalary la eParliament noma sizela ukuzothi izwe lakithi ngalishintshe ngengqumo esiyithathayo. Ngithi ngiyibongele kakhulu kwalenkosi South Africa. Ngicabanga ukuthi uhleli lapha uyona ingelosi futhi awuyena umuntu owenze ukudlula abanye kahle. Kodwa okwenzile kuyisiqalo sokushintsha izwe lethu ukuze lithathe i-direction right. Siyabonga ndaba zethu.
Ndibandi.
Ngifuna ukuthi ngicele ke baba uMkhwanazi ukuthi iSouth Africa nama ngibuyele kuyo ngiyokhala kuyo. Ngoba sekunenginqumo engiyithathile nezinto engizenzile zisifaka enkingeni futhi eyifaka ukuphila kwethu engozini. Umehluko kweyiko lokuthi angigadiwe njengoba ugadiwe wena. Kodwa sizokujika sofela khona. Angicela ama-South Africans ukuthi akwenze ukuthi asi-assiste thina nawe namaphoyisa njengawo ukuthi ekugcineni siwathola amandla futhi asithume ekuthenini sitshintshe ama-policies nemithetho ekuvimbile ukuthi usheshe ufake abantu evenini. Ngoba ngibonile ukuthi kuyi-constitution somewhere la ivimba khona ukuthi la ngabe sowungenile uqedile kodwa kubuye ukuchitha isikhathi kusibambezele. Ngiyakuthembisa ukuthi uma singathunya kwale nkosi abantu nabangalalelisisa kahle kahle sokwenza lokho. Ngoba uma sisuka la siyobhala i-report futhi siyobhala ama-recommendation to iParliament ukuthi lithathe inqumo. Angicele nje ama-South Africans ukuthi asibukelele. Kwale nkosi igama elithi Pravin Gordhan, Johnson, Batoyi, McBride, Sullivan, Padiach, Khan, Usbiya, Mkhunu, uJulius, uGeneral Fan, uSenthumule. Angilungise lapha kuJulius mhlambe kuzozwakala kabi uJulius Mkhwanazi. I'll fix the error. Bengizoqhubeka ngikhulume ngabo. Kodwa manje na umbuzo wami. Uthinte kumculi engimthanda kakhulu ndaba ezethu. Uzingwe Malo. In the big five, who is Zingwe Malo?
What we know is that amongst the people that are within the big five, that there are many business people that are associated with them. There are many politicians that are associated with them, and some of them has been spoken about in public. But it does not necessarily make them to be the big five. I said earlier, in one of the farm in north of Pretoria, it became like another arm of government, where all these high-profile people, business, politicians, and everyone were accounting it. So for now, what we have on record that Nomvalo is one of the business people that are associated with the people, not to make him a big five, but because of his business interest that he had that involved some of the people, he ended up in that space, and he's not the only one. You will see a lot of photos, a lot of names of others. Does not necessarily mean that they are part of Big Five. They are associated with these people one way or another. It does not necessarily make them Big Five. So from the records that we have of Nomvalo, he's, I think, one of the people that became closer through the taxi finance, if I'm not mistaken. He was facilitating people in South Africa to get funding for taxis. And the taxis were controlled, or the Santaco was controlled in that space. So that's why I think he lands in that space and his name is popping up all the time.
Ngibonge baba. Amaphoyisa njengalawa afuna ukuba njengawe, abopha abantu kwangempela. Kodwa sovalweni ngoba yacabanga ukuthi uma uzoba u-detective and uthola ukuthi uphethe information strong, kodwa uzoya phambili uyazi ukuthi le information izophuma. Ikhishwa ayibona lamaphoyisa la ehlalweni ephezulu. Siwasiza kanjani amaphoyisa njalo ukuthi aqinise idolo nesibindi ukuthi aqhubeka ephambili? Ngoba my concern is that amaphoyisa amaningi wabo aqoshiwe umsebenzi in general. Baqoshwe bafakwa ama-cases angekho, kuma nama-dismissals anga-understandeki, bese kuba nama-lawyers angenelele ukupressa labo bantu labo. Siwasiza kanjani amaphoyisa njengalawo ukuthi aqine idolo aye phambili?
Yeah, well, the reason why government came up with the labor laws in our country, yokuthi umthetho uvikela abasebenzi. The police officers are affiliated to unions. So if unions are strong in defending police officers against the abuse, I think that is going to go a long way to support them. That is on one side. But on the other side, channels must be opened. And the only place I think the channels for me can easily be opened is through Parliament, the Portfolio Committee on Police. Create a platform, an opportunity, or a section within that can allow police whistleblowers that want to talk about things that are wrong in the police, that they see, or things that makes them not be able to do their work. But it must be an organized structure in such a manner that is going to receive complaint and be able to investigate these complaints and find them to be legit and be able to then take necessary action. They can take action by making a reference to IP to investigate such behaviors, reference to the IDEC to investigate such behaviors, or in many other structures. But if the individual committee members are going to be receiving calls from police officers and they don't investigate, you write a question in Parliament that goes in, it's not a solution. The question in Parliament will not solve the problem of a police officer. So we as senior managers might be doing something wrong that the junior member is aware of, but is afraid, as we are saying, to speak out because he's going to be reprimanded. We're going to charge and discipline and dismiss. There must then be a platform, at least in a secured environment, which I think the Parliament might be one of the secured environment, where this police officer is able to depose of his challenges, because IP is created for the purpose. But we've seen a number of cases that IP has in their position where there's no traction in terms of investigation. I don't know the reason. We're hearing of the bad things that IPs are doing nowadays, which then creates a doubt about their capabilities. So Parliament must be then the place where one can cry. Presidents have created a complaint structure there. But a complaint comes in, they just dispatch to different departments. What I'm asking for, if we create a structure in Parliament, it mustn't be receiving dispatch. It must be receive, investigate, and then make a referral.
Maybe to follow up on that, as parliamentarians, in your view, what is it that we are not doing, Masenzi oversight, that we need to be doing?
I think that's a good question, Honourable Chair and members. The oversight role. Well, I'm not in Parliament. I'm not the lawmaker, so it might be difficult for me to criticize much what you do. But I see in how ordinary living government works. You'll have debates about the subject, but that debate might just be a debate as a tick of a box. If a decision is taken, it stays. So same with the oversight. You might find something wrong in a department, but what are the legal things you do as an oversight body that holds an accounting officer accountable? Shouting and screaming is not a solution. You can bring a person and shout at them in a meeting, but it's not going to. They're going to leave here and go aeroplane and go away. How do you make sure that there is action taken? I don't think there's ever been, I'm not saying that you must start now, but perhaps it might be an opportune time. Provincial commissioners are appointed by the National Commissioner in consultation with the executive in the province. When the executive who represents society feels that the lead of this police is not helping in fighting crime, that executive should have a platform to send a communication to the National Commission and request for a fitness board. But it is the executive of the province that has that legal authority. The portfolio committee of police in the province or security, community safety portfolio, they don't have that right. Whatever oversight they might do, they will have to write to the executive and raise those things. In Parliament, the person who accounts is the head of the police in the South African Police Service, the National Commission. And since the dawn of democracy to date, I don't think Parliament has ever initiated the process of a fitness board against the National Commission. It becomes a decision of the president to say we're dealing with this one or we're not dealing with. But the Parliament who does oversight, who see the wrong, who have asked for the report, presentations, make suggestions, and there's total ignorance on the things that the law says we must do. There's never been any opportunity, or as far as I know, a time where this portfolio committee will write to the person who's responsible for this accounting office and say, this accounting officer is not fit for this job. Take action. All the departments, DGs, are appointed by the president. I'm not sure whether the past president and the current has ever received anything from Parliament that says, Mr. President, we are asking you to take action against this DG or against this National Commission, against this general. So I think those are some of the things that we might start want to look at. Because if failure to do that, it means you do oversight over an institution where you really don't have any say on it. You are just calling them to shout at them and they leave again. They come back tomorrow, they leave again. It's the same thing. You'll do that and you become famous to be a very active parliamentarian, but the person you are active on remains in the position. Or the institution that you're doing oversight on, they still do the same things, same way. No changes.
Uchaza ukuthi into esiyenzayo ukujwayela kahle sesezinto ejwayelekile nje ukuthi kuhlale kwenziwa kanje, but we are not effective. But let me appreciate that. Asikhuluma nalo daba. What is, in your view, uma kukhulunywa ngawe nebag ye-Louis Vuitton, why did you feel the need to speak out ngayo wena usukela usuka khona uchazela abantu ukuthi ukhulunywa ngebag ukuthiwa wayithola? What prompted you to do that?
Honorable Chair and members, I'm glad you're asking me this because this Louis Vuitton has a history. The history is I think majority of government officials suffer the same thing. They fall victim of the similar thing. Mkhwanazi gets on a trip to France where there's a big exhibition to look at different equipment that we use as a police. We are there for a week. In one of the days, as we are walking and person is tired of being walking in this place every day, I come across a plate. I take this plate, I'm a task force trained person. Mine is guns and bullets. So when I take this bulletproof plate, it feels like a paper. I take this thing and I look at what is written on it. What can it stop? What caliber of bullets can it stop? The numbers that are written here, maybe not to believe it. So I say to the person on the desk, I said, this is not true. This plate can stop this caliber. This person says, no, it can. I said, no, demonstrate this. Then he gave my details, said, no, we're going to send an invitation. I fly back to South Africa. We receive an invitation. I put a report to the acting national commissioner at the time, Patlan, and I said, General Patlan, we went overseas and we saw this. I'm interested to know about this because part of the problem we have in police is the death of police. They are dying because they are not wearing bulletproof vests. Portfolio committee have been parading us almost every single day. Police officers are not wearing these vests because they are heavy, uncomfortable. And here I am seeing something that is weight of a paper. And they say can stop the same caliber of the weapons that we are protecting our members against. I want to test this. So General Patlan approves that, no, we can go on invitation back to Germany this time, not in France, to where the company is, to go and test. Remember, I'm the task force person and mine is managing the tactical teams. I'm not a ballistic expert. So I won't be able to go details about what this plate is supposed to have. That's why we have to get forensic people to come with us. A colonel from forensic in Cape Town came with us. So we travel, we go to Germany. In Germany, they take this plate, they put it in microwave with a high temperature degree. They take it after a microwave, they put it in a bucket full of water. They take it from there, they drop heavy object on top of it to mess up with the material of this thing. From there, they put it against the clay. And they ask us, what is the speed of the bullet that we use in South Africa? They load up this bullet and they shoot this thing. 7 bullets goes into it. Not a single one goes through. 2 AK-47, 2 R5s, pistol, and the likes that goes into this. Nothing passes. And for me, it was a wow. I've never seen this. The clay at the back, it's an indication of the impact for those that knows the gun. You put a clay in the plate. When you shoot, the bullet may not go through, but the impact, the trauma is going to cause on the body, you're going to see on the hole that is going to be created on this clay. That size of that hole is going to tell you that the trauma, nonetheless, although bullet didn't go through, but the trauma can kill a person. So the plate must not be able to allow that trauma. It must resist even that trauma. So this plate passes everything. I still asked the colonel that was with us, I said, why are we using such a heavy things and not this? So they asked us, what plate are you using? We said ceramic. And then our colonel says the reason we're using ceramic plate because in our specs as the police, we have the specification of a bulletproof vest that must stop an armor-piercing bullet. I don't know if you know the difference. The armor-piercing is the one that goes through steel. So the only thing that will stop that bullet is a ceramic plate. And ceramic plates are heavy. That is one. But 2, ceramic plates are easy to break. When you drop it like this, it can crack. So once it cracks, the integrity of it is compromised. This ceramic plate must be evaluated every 5 years. Do we do that in the police? We don't. So we walk around with bulletproof vests that we have been wearing for 10 years, thinking they can still stop a bullet, but we don't know because we're not retesting it. So that was a concern. I come back into South Africa. I speak to my management and I say, and I made a recommendation report, General, I think we need to acquire some of these things and evaluate them with the aim of changing our bulletproof vest in the organization. But he says, no, well, start the process. Now, in starting the process, I'm the one that initiates this. So I engage with General Arlo, who's the head of support at Division HRD, and I say, General, can we have a budget to buy this? Because remember, this is not budgeted for by supply chain. It's an evaluation. We want to evaluate a new product. So General Aro makes the budget available, said, no, we can only afford so much. And there were about 200 of them. We make an application to the division that is responsible for buying, that is supply chain. We say, we request you to get hold of this. This plate is in Germany. We'll want to bring it here into the country so we can test this. With the procurement rules of South Africa, supply chain should have gone straight to that company and get this thing to come in, but they didn't do that. They went via a local service provider. How do they source the local service provider? I do not know. In my understanding, there was no one who was providing a service of that bulletproof in the country when we met with the company. But later we learned that no, there's a service provider in South Africa that can import this thing. So supply chain goes and buy through that service provider. First batch 200 is delivered as per our request. It comes. So we take these things to different units for testing. It's an evaluation procurement. General Aro come with a proposal. Arlo, he was working at HRD. He says to me, General, why don't we increase this number of these vets from 200 to 1,000 so that we do the assessment of Pretoria West Academy? There's 2,000 students in that college. We do the full medical assessment. We give 1,000 of them these new plates, new bulletproof. We give the other 1,000 of them the older ones. After 6 months of running with these, we re-evaluate them medically to see the impact on their spinal cord and their bodies and everything else that the ceramic plate that is heavy has on the body versus this light one. So I said, but we're going to need money to do that. He said, no, we have some savings in the budget, we can do that. And I said, okay, so let's make an application. We do. But remember, we don't buy. We apply to supply chain. Supply chain wants to source these things, but obviously the head of supply chain must engage with the CFO, which is Gerard Skete at the time. So then they decided, two of them said, but we've already bought this thing and it was beyond the money that we're supposed to buy on quotation, we must buy through tender. Because it's for evaluation, we're able to source it. But the second batch is going to be expensive for us to get it directly. Let's go to Treasury and ask for permission. They wrote to National Treasury. They asked for permission. National Treasury said, no, but you've got the 200 to evaluate. The reason you are giving for the evaluation to buying the others, we cannot agree with it. Go on tender if you want to buy the others. So the response come back, and that way it stalled. To my understanding, because the response we got back from supply chain said, no, Treasury didn't approve, so we can't buy. So we live with that. We cannot buy. But I didn't know that the company that was procured from the 200, supply chain, when they received the second request from us, while they're asking for permission from Treasury, they told the company to bring more. The order is coming. And the company ordered. But when the company ordered, they got the finance, I'm told, from First National Bank. They got the loan and they ordered the staff to come into the country. But when Treasury said no to it, supply chain did not send an order to the service provider. So the service provider suffered because he's got the product into the country, costing millions, and he's got no order. That was his, I think, stupidity that he did. But when there were investigations that were done by IP and many other people, it appears that someone from within the bank, they approached these members and said, this person owes us money. He asked for money because of bulletproof, but he's not paying us. That is what started everything to say this person received this bulletproof and the investigation was lodged. I'm told they raided these companies' offices, but they realized actually there was no order from supply chain. So they seized these gadgets, computers, and they did everything. That is on one side. But on the other side, I had asked the SC to help me yesterday. Remember those numbers that I asked if you can open them for me so we can reference to? I don't know if you saved them. I hope you did. What I then discovered, honorable member, is that in me introducing this light vest, I'm making a lot of big business angry because I'm introducing something that does not exist in South Africa. So I'm coming to disrupt their business. And out of curiosity, then I started investigating to say, we are forced to stick with this ceramic plate, even if it doesn't work for us, for all these years. Who are these people we are buying from? Then I saw the list. I think less than 5 companies or maximum who are solely responsible for giving us bulletproof vests since the dawn of democracy to date. So here's me coming up with something that's going to disrupt them. A part of why there's this so much attack on me. But fast forward to that initial visit, there's another visit with the National Commissioner to the same exhibit, but we're going to visit the police there, then we pass the same exhibit. When we return from there, because this information now I asked from the National Commission, when we return from there, because there were many of us, one of us was Brigadier Leon Ras from Forensic. She's the one who was always, when I was in the task force, I was receiving a lot of things that she was buying for research that cost millions of rand without tenders. She's the one who was bringing these things. The drones were the first to have drones bought by her, cost millions without going through tender because she was doing that job at Forensic. She was with us on that second trip. We were about 5 or 6 of us. On our return, allegedly, from what I hear, is that she received a gift from someone. We are there for a week. When we part ways, you go to the hotel, you don't know what the person does. Others go shopping and this and that. Apparently, she received a gift of a bag, Louis Vuitton. They say it's a clash bag from what I'm told. She comes back, she declares that. But none of us are declaring anything because we're not getting anything. It is the case based on that to say there were Louis Vuittons that Leon Ras declared, the others didn't declare. So which means that's why Paulo Sullivan will say, I don't know what he did with Louis Vuitton. That means he gave it to his wife because he knows that it was a clutch bag, it's a woman's bag that was given to Brigadier Leon Ras. The rest of the men that were there, myself, I know I didn't get anything. So when the story went out, I asked the National Commission, I said, what is the story about this Louis Vuitton? He said, no, they approached him to ask him about it, but there was no Louis Vuitton. To date, nobody has ever come to Mkhwanazi to ask questions about it. But Mkhwanazi is out there in the media. So this goes to show that it was a fight back that I believe come from people that were disturbed on their business. On one side, for honorable members to know, the price of it cannot be the same as the price of a bottle that you buy in South Africa. If this bottle comes from abroad, there's taxes and everything that is going to make the price of this expensive. So it was a given that vest is going to be expensive simply because it comes as a complete unit. I wish I can present it before you so you can compare both. I'll invite the Portfolio Committee of Police to tell us to bring that bulletproof vest, old one, and that we found that site, bring the ballistic report, the member that was there to show the difference between the two. I'm glad today these companies are starting to make the very same light plate, thanks to us introducing that. But I can say to date, we are still on ceramic.
So I'll be
we are still buying from the same companies.
So I'll be wasting my time asking you ukuthi bekune 100,000 kuleyo bag le because there was never a bag.
So they talk about the clash bag. I don't even 100,000 rand. How does it even get to that clash bag? So you can see it's a story that was just made up.
Makes sense.
Unfortunately, people that shared with Mr. Paulo Sullivan, he then believed that this is the fact.
Thank you so much. That must be the last question.
Thank you, Chair. No, quick one. Why would General Khan, if there's all these allegations, you as his colleague and seniors, if I may say, maybe it's your senior, I don't know. Why would you and in the state probe such a person on allegations and I'm asking this because I still feel strongly if he felt he is innocent of the allegations, he wouldn't come to me. He wouldn't invite me to a certain place to speak to me on a video call. He would be doing exactly what you are doing with the Louis Vuitton issue. In your take, what's that issue?
I really don't know. I don't know because he's not working under my command. With all what I know, if he was working under my command, I would have taken action long time ago. But he does not work under my command, so I cannot be able to answer as to why there's no action taken against him. It seems to be, even in this committee, is missing. he find a way of dodging everything. I do hope that the police commissioner will do something drastically this time. General Mkhwanazi said he has dismissed over 30 members at crime intelligence. But that's not enough. There are many wrong members that are still there. That shouldn't be there. That have been part of the system. So we need to, I think General Khan is one of the richest general we have, maybe more richer than all of you.
Waltabulizwe mfoka kwale nkosi asibonge baba Mkhwanazi inkosi kubusise.
Thank you so much. We take a break. We come back at 20 minutes to 6. I want to remind you that your staff members want you outside again now. Thank you so much.